Hi, it's been a while. I've pretty much moved on from this channel at this point. I've mostly been expressing my love and enthusiasm for Doctor Who through my blog, which will be linked in the description below. However, tomorrow I'll be putting out a new article called Why My Concerns on a Female Doctor Were Wrong. When I first started this channel, I had what at the time I thought were very valid concerns about why I thought the changing of the gender of the Doctor wouldn't work. In May of 2018, I made a video called Why I Have Concerns for a Female Doctor. Jodie Whittaker ended up proving me wrong, and she ended up as a very strong Doctor, but that doesn't matter. I was wrong to have concerns on a simple gender change, and it was just me being scared and resistant to change and trying to maintain the traditions of the segregated casting of the past. I was never not my Doctor, but it was a sexist argument, and I'm not proud of it. This is why I've written an article debunking that video, which will be coming out tomorrow. I didn't just want to bury the video. It exists, after all, as a piece of history. However, I didn't want to promote a point of view that I fundamentally disagree with and think is wrong now. So following this disclaimer will be the original video. Just be aware, this is not how I feel now. The new article will be out tomorrow, which you can find on my Tardis blog, linked in the description below. Following now will be the original video. Ever since Jodie Whittaker was announced as the 13th Doctor on the 16th of July 2017, there's been a lot of controversy from fans. For a long time, there was a lot of hatred coming from fans, with insulting comments coming from two sides. Whilst it has settled a lot now, I want to settle a major part of the debate, which for me and my experience has caused a lot of misunderstanding among fans. It's the group that feel that anyone who disagrees with a female Doctor is sexist, and anybody who can't see it is wrong and doesn't deserve to be part of the fan community. I want to clear this up in this rather controversial video and explain why changing the gender of the main character is such a huge change, and why you're allowed to disagree or be sceptical on the matter. A lot of people who disagree with the idea of female Doctor are sexist, but a lot of people also have a lot of valid reasons, which is what I'm going to talk about in this video. So let's begin. I want to start off by saying that even though I have concerns for a female Doctor, I am in no way against it. I have my doubts and concerns, but I really want them to make this work. And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to put my hands up and admit it. And I give Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker my full support. But I never really liked the idea of a female Doctor, for reasons that I'll go on to explain, and I felt that the Doctor should remain male, but I never took the idea too seriously until the last couple of years. But then the announcement came that Jodie Whittaker would be the 13th Doctor, and at first I really wasn't happy about it and felt the show had been ruined, but I have softened to the idea, having had time to reflect on it. First of all, I want to put some major arguments out of the way, because in some fan circles this change has been rather undermined, and compared to the likes of when Matt Smith was cast as the Doctor and fans complained that he was too young and unknown, and when Peter Capaldi was cast as the Doctor and fans complained that he was too old. But for me, there is a clear difference. The Doctor has been many ages. He had been an old man before Peter Capaldi. When Tom Baker was cast as the Doctor, he was 40, and he was the youngest Doctor yet. And he'd also been a young man before, with Peter Davison being cast at 29. Changing the Doctor's age doesn't change anything about the character, and has been proven to work before, but changing the gender is completely uncharted territory. I'm not saying it can't work, but I'm saying it's most certainly a big risk. But many are talking about the importance of feminism and equality, and a move like this was necessary, and it was about time something like this happened. But for me, it's rather a shallow argument when you really look at it, and there are a lot of conceptual issues with a female doctor. I strongly and firmly agree that it's very important to put women in more strong leading roles, to be seen as heroes in our society for the importance of equality. But I think in Doctor Who, changing the gender of the lead character is the wrong way to go about it. Doctor Who is full of strong and independent women with its companions. We had the likes of Sarah Jane Smith, Leela, Romana, Ace, Rose Tyler, Donna Noble, Amy Pond and Bill Potts. All of these are very strong, independent characters with a lot of depth and capability and character. Sarah Jane Smith was so popular that she became the lead in her own spin-off show. She became the lead in her very own show and was arguably more popular than half of the Doctors themselves. So it's not like the women in Doctor Who have had no attention. Whilst the way Stephen Moffat has handled these female characters hasn't done the show's reputation much good, and it is known for its screaming damsels in the 1960s, it still has a fair few of great relatable and interesting companions. And if Doctor Who did have a problem with its handling of its female characters as very weak, then I think the way to solve that would just be creating new and interesting companions. So this decision hardly seems necessary. From this comes the argument that we've had more and more women taking over leading roles in big blockbuster films. So why not have a woman take over the lead character in this legendary TV programme that's been going for over 50 years? But there's a big difference. I strongly support seeing more women in leading roles, but there is a difference there. Rey, played by Daisy Ridley, is now the lead in the Star Wars sequel trilogy with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and the upcoming Episode 9 in 2019. But she's a great character in her own right and isn't a new version of Luke Skywalker. Wonder Woman is another example people use a lot, but there's also a big difference there. Wonder Woman was created as a female character, and she's just been brought to the big screen. And while it's great that she's finally got her own film, the gender hasn't changed. This is the problem I have. It's not seeing more women in leading roles. That I firmly support, but it's the gender change. And I think if the Doctor had been female all these years and then changed into a man, I'd have the same issue. It's the gender swap, which I don't think is a very good idea for any character and changes who the character is. But I can't really talk much longer about this without talking about the fact that we have seen Time Lords regenerate into women before, particularly with the Master, as we saw a female version of the Master quite recently in the last few years with Michelle Gomez as Missy. I was uncomfortable with the idea of the Master changing into a woman at first, and even though I don't like Missy, I've come to realise that my issues with her character aren't to do with the gender. I think the idea of a female Master could have worked and could have been handled quite effectively, as I don't think changing the gender of the Master changes too much about her character from before. But I do feel like she was very badly written and very badly handled for a female Master, being very overly flirtatious and overly feminine and very overly sexualised, being a rather evil River Song. She seemed very clingy and overly obsessed over the Doctor. My problems came from how the female Master was handled rather than the conceptual idea. But nevertheless, the only past evidence we have to see if a female Doctor is going to work or not is Missy, which doesn't fill me with a lot of hope and shows how the idea of changing the gender of a character can go very wrong if handled the wrong way. as Missy was rather overly feminine. And this meant she lost the core characteristics of the Master. Now I want to talk about my major issues with the idea of a female Doctor, and the first of which I think I could probably look past, given time, as I did have the same issue with the Master. This is for me that it changes the past of the show. It changes the characters' relationships with the previous companions of the show in a way the original writers didn't intend it to. The Doctor has a granddaughter. He has a relationship with Rose Tyler, and he was even married to Riversong. I have no problem with same-sex relationships in Doctor Who, but quite simply, that's not how those dynamics were meant to be seen by the original writers. It changes the character dynamics in the history of the programme in a rather fundamental way. Like I said, there was a similar issue with the Master, as the Master previously had a wife in John Simm's incarnation, and we saw her snog the Doctor in Dark Water and refer to him as her boyfriend in Deep Breath. I know it was intended as a joke, but when you really consider that these are the same characters who were played by John Pertwee and Roger Delgado, it's really twisting the relationships of the characters to a way the original writers didn't intend it to be, and just altering the history of the programme. When you apply thought to it, it really begins to fall apart, but I do think that it doesn't alter anything for the future of the programme, so it's something that I could probably learn to look past, but it's still something I personally don't really like. My next issue is something that I feel could affect the future of the programme, and is my main reason for concern for a female Doctor. The Doctor was created and designed in 1963 as a male character, and therefore carries a lot of preconceptions in our society of traditionally male characteristics. Often the Doctor has been designed to subvert the expectations of a traditional male hero. Often a traditional male hero like James Bond or Indiana Jones is a rather charming ladies' man who comes in all guns blazing and defeats the enemy with rather heroic physical violence. But the Doctor is designed to go against those expectations. The Doctor doesn't initially go up to confront and face the enemy when he first sees them. He runs away. The Doctor doesn't face them with violence or weaponry, but a sonic screwdriver. He's a rather peaceful man. He's a pacifist who fights the enemy with rather foolish and quirky acts of humour. We don't expect that of a male hero, so the Doctor subverts those expectations and therefore is a rather unique figure in our society. I mean, many will ask, well, how does that change with a female Doctor? Well, simply, we don't have the same expectations and it doesn't have the same impact. We don't expect a female hero to come in all guns blazing, so it's not subverting any expectations in our society, and we expect a female hero to be someone of peace. It changes a very fundamental part of the character and a very fundamental part of the show. I think the character of the Doctor is what makes Doctor Who so special in what he stands for, and is a rather unique character compared to other fictional role models in fiction. If you change a big part of his character, even unintentionally with a woman, I think it's going to be seen differently. I think this could possibly change Doctor Who's DNA in what makes it work and what makes the Doctor's character work. It might change what makes him so special and what Doctor Who is and makes it so special. But I have to say, I have warmed to the idea over time, mainly as I thought back to the first regeneration when William Hartnell regenerated to Patrick Troughton in 1966. At the time, this was an impossible task of replacing the lead character of this amazing TV show, but then Patrick Troughton came in and created something new and reinvented the character, but at the same time it was the same Doctor and the same character that we all loved. That was a very bold and risky move at the time, and I imagine a lot of people would have been against it, but somehow they made it work, and if it wasn't for that, Doctor Who wouldn't be here today. It changed Doctor Who forever in a good way and opened it up to new possibilities. I think changing the agenda is the biggest change in Doctor Who since 1966 and could reinvent the show forever if they make this work. If they succeed, and I hope they do, it could end up being one of the best decisions Doctor Who has ever made. I also feel that if anyone can pull it off, it's Chris Chibnall. He's the right man for the job. This simply comes down to how well he writes his female characters on Broadchurch, giving them a lot of depth and relevance, and they're on equal footing with the men on the show. If Chris Chibnall writes the 13th Doctor well, then my concerns may not be an issue. It has started off well, as I love the introduction of Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor in Twice Upon a Time, as she clearly shows the childish and alien quality that I consider the Doctor, and instantly felt like the character. That fills me with a lot more hope, and I just hope that the character continues to go down that road. I didn't see her gender in that scene. I saw the character, which is the way it should be. So overall, conceptually, I do have concerns on how a female Doctor is going to work, and I don't think it's a very good idea, so I do have some concerns. But I do think that Chris Chibnall is the right man for the job of handling her Doctor and making the Doctor work as a female character, and I give Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker my full support. So that's my video on why I have concerns for a female Doctor. I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me, but maybe some of you might agree with me. I'm just trying to add a different perspective. But if you have any thoughts and opinions of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, if you want any updates on any of my future videos, then feel free to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. Links to that are in the description below. Next time with my video on why I changed my opinion of the 5th Doctor. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.